Hello, and welcome to our Tuesday evening council meeting here. Sorry to spring this on you, Administrator O'Malley, but if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would deeply appreciate it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, I believe we're ready to begin.
We say it every time, but we don't mean it.
All roll call votes for this meeting will begin with the Councilor of Ward 3.
Justice for all.
Councilors, please. Thank you. I'm sorry, can you please repeat that, Madam Clerk?
Sure. All roll call votes for this meeting will begin with the Councilor of Ward 3.
Thank you. And I understand we have minutes?
You do not actually have minutes, no. We did not get those to you in time, so we will move this forward to the next meeting, please.
Not an issue. Thank you.
you.
We are now up to public comment. Any member of the public may make comments regarding issues pertaining to Lewiston City government. This period is reserved for non-agenda items. Public comment is also allowed during individual agenda items. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record and please indicate you're a Lewiston resident. Because this is the business meeting of the City Council, all questions should be directed to the mayor, who will ask staff to follow up at a future time. It is illegal for the City Council to allow comments related to personnel matters. All personnel complaints should be made directly to the City Administration Office.
Hi, my name is Lisa Jones. I'm a Ward 2 resident and a Ward 7 business owner. I'm here to express anger and general mistrust from many community members as even more people learn that the money they donated after the mass shooting was diverted away from victims' families and survivors. Despite this being in the media on at least 3 separate occasions, no one from Lewiston City Government has stepped up to explain anything to community members. Actually, it seems as though the city and the businesses who literally profited off the deaths of others are deliberately ignoring the cries from the public who feels so cheated. There is no justifiable reason for many of the organizations on that list to have received any money after the mass shooting, and the fact that the people deciding where the money went assigned money to their own organizations proves that checks and balances were non-existent. To learn that people who survived that night aren't able to pay their medical bills was appalling. Millions of dollars were donated to avoid that very scenario. No one donated money after the mass shooting to local nonprofits. I'm requesting that the City Council or City Administration make a formal statement explaining how it was determined who would disperse that money and where it would go. And I'd also like to hear what the plan is for covering medical and therapy expenses for survivors, since the money we donated to them went to area businesses.
Good evening. My name is Rick LaChapelle, Ward 4. I understand that you've all received, and I hope had a chance to read, Amy Susson's letter. She spells out what our issues are. I'm following up on the last speaker. 6 out of 10 steering committee members received at least $62,000 for their nonprofits. 9 of the 29 nonprofits assist the nonprofits were from the immigrant community, while 2 groups worked with prisoners, not victims of the shooting. Kathy LaBelle, the owner of Schmenge's, received nothing. No help for her staff, no help for reopening, no help for any of their losses. I remembered as a former council president at that time, I met with the city administrator and you, Mr. Mayor, in her office. She said we must be careful how we move forward on raising money for the victims because we were told that other cities were fleeced by out-of-town groups claiming to fundraise for them. Well, I have to say, we don't have to worry about our out-of-town groups. We were misled by our own people. I come here tonight to beg this body to investigate how and who received money. A few questions. Where did the money go that the city of Lewiston received? Not any other group, the city of Lewiston. Mr. Mayor and myself were in the office and we know that money came into the city of Lewiston. I understand that that account is now closed and those funds have been dispersed. Where did they go? Who made the decision to donate money to nonprofits instead of victims? There was over $4 million raised, $1.9 million was given to nonprofits. Is it right that many nonprofits received more money than victims? I understand nothing was done illegally, but immoral and unethical comes to mind. I also understand this body cannot change anything that has happened, but this must be brought to light. The citizens of Lewiston need your help. We have all been victimized. I request that you as a body break with protocol and demand that this topic be placed as an agenda item for further review now before we move on to other topics. Josh, we need your in-depth questioning. Sue, we need your knowledge as a business person. Scott, your ability to sift through the weeds. Mike, your understanding of nonprofits. Aaron, your kind heart for victims. David, your sharp eye, dot the I's and cross the T's. Tim, your sense of fairness. And Mr. Mayor, your leadership. Please do not let this wrong go unnoticed. Bring this to light. As a donor, I'm appalled at how the funds were handled. In Amy's letter...
That's time, please.
I just have a half a sentence, if you just give me a second.
Go ahead.
In Amy's letter, you will clearly see where the money went. Please act on it today. Thank you.
Thank you. And as the next speaker's coming up, if speakers run over a time, they are more than welcome to submit the rest of their comments to publiccomment@lewistonmaine.gov. That goes to all of us. Please continue.
Jim Lyson, 26 Taylor Hill Road in Lewiston, in Ward 1, former city councilor as well. I'm here on behalf of the Maine People's Alliance to talk to you about an initiative that we will be bringing forward to you eventually. And that is really trying to attack rent increases, especially for apartment buildings. Now, we're working on the state level on a couple bills, one on mobile home parks and trying to get them, and Old Orchard Beach just passed an ordinance concerning mobile home parks. And, you know, I did a lot of canvassing this year in mobile home parks, and, you know, people just complained about the rent increases or the fees that were charged or the fact that they said you can't do this or you can't do that. They changed the rules. So, in any case, Maine People's Alliance was founded in Lewiston over 40 years ago, talking about housing. And we're still talking about housing. And I don't know. I mean, you know, I wish we could flip a switch and make it easy to do, but both at the state level and here, we want to bring in fair rent increases. And what makes it fair, I mean, that has to be decided. That's in the details. And cost of living expenses and stuff, may be a key, but we'll talk about that later. And what we want to do is talk to you individually as well as in a group. And we'll also talk to the Housing Committee as well. So, but Lewiston renters need protection from skyrocketing rent increases that often leave renters out in the cold. And that's terrible. Again, I'm looking at the time, and I'm just going to leave it at that and talked about on the state level, but on the local level here, we're bringing in a stabilization program that we're going to discuss with you in much more depth. But I just wanted to give you a heads up on that, so thank you.
Ronnie Parity, Ward 6. First of all, I want an update. I haven't heard anything about Martell School, and an update, please. When you get a chance, or please let me know what's going on. Last I knew, they're supposed to start building in March. I remember the old timeline, or maybe it's changed. My second thing is, I went to the school board meeting last night, and I hope you all watched that school board meeting, and here, Scott can tell you some about it too. Hear what parents are going through. There is so much violence in our schools and in our city. Mayor, what happened to your committee on safety? We need to renew that. Please, the violence is terrible. What kids are going through and what parents are going through. If you would have listened to that last night, you would have heard a letter from a sophomore student about what the high school atmosphere is like. Now, I know you're not the school board, but you're also our city officials. And we need to get together as a city to stop this violence, especially among our young people. It is dangerous. Kids don't want to school. They don't want to go to school. There's violence, there's bullying, and everything. Many of us have talked at the school board meeting, and when I heard parents, and kids are getting away with it. They're getting away with it. They're not getting the consequences they should get. Why? Why? And everything. And they're not learning. Our fees, we need leadership. We need leadership who will say, we need to do something. And I'm not blaming the police, because the police are doing a fine job. But we need the whole city, and we need the parents. The parents are not involved in their kids' education. And what I've seen, the parents that are, the kids are doing well, are doing all right. But when a good kid writes, you look at that and that sophomore student, what she wrote about Lewiston High School, and it's Jan Woodwin's daughter, it's sad. It's sad, and many other kids feel this way. And if you don't know that, you walk the school halls. And our administrators, some of them are not doing what they should be doing. Thank you, but please get that safety committee going. We need a city meeting on safety. And we need to come up with some solutions, and it's not just the police. Thank you.
Matthew Egrin, Ward 4. We have a chance to build the society that MLK wanted. One where we're not judged on race, religion, gender, sexual attraction, but one where we're judged as individuals. But the key to being able to being judged as individuals, we all have to be judged individually the same. That doesn't mean there's programs that benefit one that doesn't benefit all. We need to do this. It's what Martin Luther King Jr. wanted, a neutral society where you judged on who you were, not what special, about you. And while I am not impressed with this council, because you failed to follow the plans that you laid out to us before hiring a new city administrator. Because to quote our current council president, Jim, words have meaning. I do understand that the way this came to be was that Brian, please forgive me because I've never heard your name in public before, so Kenrath is really our only option. And yes, we are going to finally get that public meet and greet with him for a whole 45 minutes Thursday night in a possible blizzard before you guys come back from the library to here to finalize a contract. I'm glad that you all did your due diligence in finding us the best new city administrator available and who is truly interested in taking on the many challenges that are here in Lewiston. I also hope that this will bring a new wave of transparency to the city government of Lewiston.
Further public comment?
Good evening. My name is Louise Sampson, and I'm in Ward 5. What I have to say may not be quite as important as the previous comments, but to me they are important. Years ago, we used to have a parking ban from November to April. Now there's only a parking ban if a snowstorm is predicted. Sunday night there was a parking ban. Pine Street, they were still all parked. So that when the plows plow, they have to zigzag around all these vehicles. That can't be very easy for Public Works. And then it leaves the street a mess. And Pine Street is used an awful lot. I especially driving a van for the school system. It's not easy driving up there and parking on the side of the street to pick up kids. I believe that, or I should say, back along years ago in my time, when there was a parking ban, you got towed. I don't know if anybody got towed this time. I'm sure they can't tow everybody, but at least give them parking tickets. Get them the hell off the streets. My other thing is garbage. Pine Street is a mess. Always a stinking mess. And there's no reason for it. How can anybody generate so much garbage? And then we have an overflow of crows that get at it and spray it around all over the place. These things are very aggravating to me. And I think to a lot of people that I've spoken to. And I think it has to be looked at, please. The other thing, these public comments that are made, do they go on deaf ears? Does any of you do anything about it after the fact? I would really like an answer to that, please. Thank you.
Further public comment? Madam Clerk, agenda item number 1.
Excuse me, item number 1, public hearing on application for a new liquor license and special amusement permit for live entertainment for Fishbones Grill, 70 Lincoln Street. Requested action to authorize the city clerk's office to approve a new liquor license application and special amusement permit for Fishbones Grill, 70 Lincoln Street.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Glant.
Second.
Second by Councilor Chittum. Discussion. Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 2.
Item number 2, public hearing on a renewal application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for Da Vinci's, 150 Mill Street. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment for Da Vinci's, 150 Mill Street.
So moved.
Second. Yes, thank you. Councilor Chittum, followed by Councilor Glant. Discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 4.
Item number
So,
3.
three, thank
Item
you,
number
yes.
3, public hearing on a new application for a special amusement permit for live entertainment for C40 Incorporated, 40 East Avenue. Requested action to grant a special amusement permit for live entertainment for C40 Incorporated, 40 East Avenue.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum,
Second.
second by Councilor Sol. Discussion? Public comment? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Now we're up to item number 4.
Item number 4, public hearing and adoption of order, adoption of the NECEC Tax Increment Financing District and Development Plan. The first item, to conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed New England Clean Energy Connect TIF and Development Program, and to consider if anyone claims the project will have a substantial detrimental effect to that party's property interests, and then determine if those detrimental effects are outweighed by the benefit of the NECEC project.
So moved.
Well, I think we're conducting a public hearing. Are we, Administrator O'Malley?
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a... Oh, yes.
Apologies, Mayor and Council. As the Economic Development Director, I wanted to introduce myself to the new owners of Fishbones, and that's what I was doing. So, with apologies, Mayor, would you like me to proceed?
Please continue.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, before you is the NECEC Tax Increment Financing District. We've held 3 workshops on this topic. Thank you for your engagement and your support. It sounds like we have a consensus position on the program. I'll briefly describe it to you for a reminder for you, but mostly for the benefit of the public. The City Council, as I mentioned, has indicated support for capturing 55% of the future value of this project in a tax increment financing district. What that means is roughly 75% of the project, once it's complete, will support the general fund, 25% will support economic development activities. This TIF, by happenstance, is coming to you about 7 months after the Walmart TIF expired. This TIF program is designed to provide revenue to support the Economic Development Office upstairs, which is myself and my team. What we're doing a bit different with this one is we're trying to transfer more of the cost of municipal staff who are engaged with me in economic development work, which includes administration, planning and code enforcement, engineers at Public Works, city administration, communications and marketing. That group that I just listed, we work as a interdepartmental team on economic development, and so I think it's important we have that collaboration. I think their time spent on this work is eligible for TIF, and if we move some of those costs over the TIF, that's good for the Lewiston taxpayer, because NECEC is paid for by Massachusetts electricity ratepayers, not by Lewiston taxpayers. So those are the folks down there who are supporting our economic development. The program also includes funding to support a business development fund, which would be a revolving fund to help support new business development. It also includes the opportunity for us to, in the future, if we decide, invest in things like partnerships with organizations who are engaged in economic development work in the downtown and throughout Lewiston to support Lewiston as a destination for business and arts. It also includes the ability for the council to decide to use these funds to support capital projects that have an economic development component to them. That's a change from before, and that would help you further reduce the impact on the Lewiston taxpayer. This is a 30-year TIF. There is no credit enhancement agreement to the developer. Put differently, there's no tax break to CMP. There's no tax break to any CEC. They haven't asked for one. You have not contemplated one. As structured, this TIF district doesn't allow for it. That represents the high points of the program. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, do you want to, Madam Clerk, do you want to go to a public hearing now, or do you want to?
Sure. Typically, I think we would go to public hearing at this point if you feel that the residents have enough information from the director's presentation to comment on it. Certainly, of course, the council's held multiple workshops. There have been advertisements in the paper, so forth.
All right, well, perhaps questions from the council, and then we'll go to a public hearing. Councilor Glant.
What is homelessness fitting at?
Thank you, Councilor, for the question on page, I'm not sure of the page numbers, but after the application, which is labeled page 17 in your packet, the next page has what we call the development program. It's titled Project Costs. And there are 2 sections of statute that provide for funding for the programs you've talked about in workshops and with me.
All right, thank you.
The numbers assigned to each item are best described as placeholders. They don't represent a budget that you have to stick to.
All right. Yeah, I see. I just want to make sure.
Are you all set, Councilor Glant?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Yes, Councilor Chittum.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Director Libby, I wanted to highlight the fact that over the course of this 30-year TIF, it's estimated that $25 million will be used to support the salaries of people who are involved in economic development. That $25 million then is coming off the general fund and was not being supported by Lewiston residential taxpayers and commercial papers. So I just wanted to clarify that for the public, that over the next 30 years, $25 million worth of city employees who are involved in economic development will be paid for by the ratepayers of Massachusetts.
That's correct.
Thank you for this.
Councillor Najin.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that I think this is well done. I think that the pieces that we're looking at funding are important to the future of the city and the future economic development goals and viability of the city being able to pay its bills. And so I appreciate that. I will have a point concerning the shelter in new business, but I do not believe that this TIF piece should ever be used in order to fund a city-directed shelter. And I'll just make that as a statement again. I understand it's written in there as an option, as a worst-case scenario, but there are funding mechanisms for these shelters, including ESHAP funds, that should not hit the Lewiston taxpayer, or a TIF that is designed for economic development. So.
Yes, Councillor Roy.
Thank you. Thank you, Director, for putting this together. This is really, really a great project for us. And anytime that we can reduce the burden on the taxpayers is something that I would vote for all the time. So appreciate that.
Thank you.
We are now holding the public hearing for this agenda item. And the public hearing is now closed. Do you have anything further, Director Libby? Councilors? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Yes,
sorry,
yes,
yes,
okay.
please,
So,
thank you.
the next, for item 4, it says if the council deems that the benefits of the NECEC TIF outweigh negatives articulated, the council is asked to adopt the order approving the New England Clean Energy Connect Tax Increment Financing District and Development Program.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Chittum, followed by Councillor Najin. Councilors, were any other questions? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Councilor from Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Director Libby. Item number 5.
Yes, and actually, Mr. Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, if we could back up just for some clarification. On Friday, we issued the agenda, and then about an hour later, we issued an amended copy of the agenda, and we added 3B, which was the public hearing for the LCIP. We had inadvertently left it off when we issued the original agenda. So I'm realizing right now that you don't have paper copies in your book that was emailed out. The agenda was posted on the website, and about an hour later, it was brought to our attention that we had forgotten to add that on there. So we reposted the agenda, redistributed it via the email system and process, but I'm realizing that we forgot to put paper copies in your book. So the agenda item is simply just to conduct a public hearing on the LCIP. There's no vote of the council required. A display ad was run in the newspaper about 15 days ago or so, listing tonight for 7 o'clock as the public hearing. So the ad has been placed, and it has been on the agenda online since Thursday afternoon.
And it's Agenda 3B.
So it's Agenda 3B. Simply
Agenda
it is-
3B, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's public hearing on the city's fiscal year 2026 Lewiston Capital Improvement Program. Requested action to conduct a public hearing on the city's fiscal year 2026 Lewiston Capital Improvement Program and to receive public comments.
The public hearing on the LCIP is now open. The public hearing is now closed.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that's the only action for this item. It was just to receive public comment. Of course, the LCIP will come back to you a couple of times for review, and then the bond approval later on in June.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Understood,
Mayor.
thank you. Councillor Najin, did you have something?
Yeah, just really quickly, will there be another public hearing for the LCIP, or is this the only one?
This is the only one. LCIP will be discussed when we do budget.
Okay.
Item number 5.
Item number 5, public hearing and adoption of order approving an amendment to the DeWitt Affordable Housing Tax Increment Financing District and Development Program. Again, there are 2 items for requested action, but I believe the director may have some comments prior to, sir.
Yes, Director Luby.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At 3:30 this afternoon, I spoke with the representative of the developer. We had a miscommunication on the staging of 2 instruments to finalize the DeWitt development. My understanding is that we'd run the TIF tonight and the home agreement in 2 weeks. Their understanding was that we'd run both items in 2 weeks. And so my request to you is, given that we've published notice for this public hearing, and that notice requires 10 days, that to sort of make it simpler and cleaner, that you open the public hearing, and then a motion to continue the public hearing to February 18th.
Right.
Would be helpful, and that we will bring this to you to finalize these corrections in 2 weeks and hopefully save people time.
Sounds great, thank you. The public hearing is now open for this agenda item.
Matthew Egren, Ward 4. So once again, Lewiston Housing doesn't show up for meetings here that they need to be at. There's no consequences. It's like everything else. There's no structure. They should be here tonight. It was in the agenda. I can read the agenda. Why can't they be here? That the excuse was, well, we thought it was going to be one part to this time. It doesn't say that. You guys need to hold them to their responsibilities. They're a partner of ours.
Further public comment? Public hearing is now closed.
Continue.
Thank you. Yes, it is now continued. And may I have a motion to continue the public hearing to February 18th?
Mr. Mayor, I move we continue the public hearing to February 18th, the public hearing on the DeWitt TIF to, I said November, but I really meant February 18th.
Second.
Councilor Chittum, followed by Councilor Najin. Thank you both very much. Further discussion among the council? Are you good, Director? Councilor Najin, yes.
I just want to clarify, had we expected to move forward and not just forward this, to move this to the next meeting, LHA would have been present, am I correct?
Yeah, I would not agree with the characterization that they dropped the ball here. I think this was an honest miscommunication on sequencing of 2 legal documents.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify on that.
Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 3,
Yes.
Ward 4,
Yes.
Ward 5,
Yes.
Ward 6,
Yes.
Ward 7,
Yes.
Ward 1,
Yes.
Ward 2.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Director Libby, thank you. Item number 6.
Item number 6, order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Main Street resurfacing project. Requested action, to approve the order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Main Street resurfacing project.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second.
Second by Councilor Glant. Director Gagne, Engineer Booley, thank you for joining us. Please kick us off.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. The next 5 items are related to city projects where the trend we've seen in bids are above our allotted budgets. So we've partnered with DOT as well as our other partner agencies on each of these projects and are here tonight to ask for those funds be reappropriated to each project. So specific to those questions, I'll let Deputy Boley answer those questions that you have.
Sure. So this first one we're discussing is Main Street resurfacing. It's a rather large project, 1.38 miles from Longley Bridge all the way to Pettingill Street. Full paving and ADA upgrades of 80 ADA ramps, a lot of signal modifications for new ped buttons. There's a lot of safety work included in this. And what we're asking for is funding of our share, which is 10% of the project, of the amount that was over the allotted budget, which amounts to $182,877. The other 90% has been agreed to be funded by ATRC and the state and federal share. So this is the last piece we're looking for to move forward with this important project that we've been working on for a long time.
Questions from the council? Councilor Najin.
So just to publicly state, you know that obviously I'm concerned about the train in particular, right? And how it's going to be routed, how traffic's going to be routed through Riverside when the train hits 40 miles per hour. There are currently two bridges that come across the train tracks. One of them dumps into Hammond Street. I've also been an advocate for reworking the space around Sabattis Street, Main Street, and Hammond in general, with better build-outs, bump-outs, better space. I mean, I think everybody in this community has watched somebody in a wheelchair in the middle of the winter try to scoot across 4 lanes of traffic in order to get to the hospital, and it's a terrifying experience. And so there's definite improvements that do need to be made in that space, and I think that I'm only saying this publicly because we've had conversations privately. I want to make people aware of the fact that there are challenges there that Maine DOT did not respond to during the public comment period, and now we have an opportunity to renegotiate some of these pieces, hopefully, with the pressure that CSX will put on a neighborhood that lives on both sides of the tracks. So, other than that, I will approve this. I think it's unfortunate that Cody Street Park didn't happen, but I'm glad that the funding's available for improvements through an area that pedestrians are challenged in. So,
Councilor Chittum, did you?
I simply want to know when this project is going to start. The bid has already been awarded.
It has not been awarded. It's on Monday's Finance Committee agenda, pending this approval.
Yes.
Okay, but then we've selected a contractor.
There is a contractor, yes.
When do we expect to start?
So it should start right away on April 15th. It's a large project. It'll take most of the summer to be completed by October.
Thank you.
Public comment for this agenda item? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, Councilor Harriman, did you have something? Oh, okay. Sorry. Madam Clerk, yes. Please call the
Ward
vote.
3?
yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 7.
So it actually, Mr. Mayor, for
Mr. Mayor.
clarification,
Point of order?
Yes.
I would
Councilor
move,
Chittum.
because of the way these are ordered in the agenda, I would move that we take the next 3 items out of order, that we take item number 9, item number 8, and item number 7. The reason for that is that in each resolve, there is a remaining balance in the Cody Street project, and that balance would be incorrect if we took the items in order. Correct. So I'm moving that we take items 9, 8, and 7 in that order, please.
Madam Clerk, is that what you were going to say?
yes, it was. We just need to simply flip items 7 and 9, the order of 7 and 9, when it was, it's not the fault of the Public Works Department. When it was submitted to us, I think I renumbered, so I apologize, Jeff. So I didn't realize they were in sequence regarding drawdown of funds. So we just need to flip items 9 and 7 and approve them in that sequence. So number 9 would be next, Mr. Mayor, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Chittum. Thank you, Madam Clerk. It's important to remain flexible in government. Item number 9.
Item number 9, order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Heads Up Safety Improvements on Main Street and Sabattis Street. Requested action to adopt the order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Heads Up Safety Improvements on Main Street and Sabattis Street.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor Chittum.
Second.
Second by Councilor Harriman. Director.
This project is dealing with a previous comment Councilor Najin made, so I'll let Deputy Boley go into some detail.
Sure. So these other 3 remaining projects were all bid together as one project, even though they're separate, technically separate projects. That's why we split them up into different items. All 3 ended up a little bit over budget. These are funded 80% by the state. There's no federal funds in these. These are what's called the Heads Up Safety Program that the state funds. So our share is 20% on these. And this first one is Main and Sabatis. I put the little map in there so you could kind of see where the intersections are that are part of this, which is Sabatis and Oak, Sabatis and Wood, and Main at Montello. So Main and Montello will have a refuge island in the middle of Main Street, and new ADA improvements. The other 2 on Sabatis Street will be high visibility crosswalks with brick pavers, granite edges, brighter paint, and upgrades of all of the ramps associated, and rapid flashing beacons at all of these.
Excellent. Councilor Najin, did you have something?
Concerning the complaints that I have about the reworking or the lack of reworking, would we put in a change of work order if we came to a point where Maine DOT agreed with some of the changes that I want to see?
We could. So at this point, we need to award, like item number 6, we need to award that contract, and then we can issue change orders and go through that process.
Understood. Thank you.
Yep.
Further comments, questions from the council? Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 8.
Item number 8, order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Heads Up Safety Improvements Main Street Mid-Block Crosswalk. Requested action to adopt the order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Heads Up Safety Improvements Main Street Mid-Block Crosswalk.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Councilor
Second.
Chittum, second by Councilor Gallant. Director Gagne, Deputy Boley.
This is a specific area that's been a concern for a while, so it's nice to get this one actually done. This is a mid-block cross that is difficult to get approved, especially on Main Street, so we're at that process where we get to build it, and this is what we're here for. This is the, I believe, the Looking Ahead Clubhouse that's been discussed, so we're excited about this one. If you have any more details, I'll let Deputy Boley go through those with you.
Yeah, this is really just south of Montello, and it's basically the same type of crossing with a mid-block, a mid-island refuge with a rapid flashing beacon in the island and one on each side, and a painted crosswalk and new ramps on each side. There's a bus stop right there, and a lot of people trying to cross.
Councilor Najin?
Just to clarify, that's going to be built this year, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been a long time coming. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Councilor Chittum?
Second that. I do appreciate this installation. I'm not sure whether it's the Transit Committee or the Public Works Department that would locate the bus stop sign adjacent to this so that they work in concert with one another rather than in opposition. I don't know who would do that, but I want to make certain that the whole system is working properly, particularly given the constraints of some of the users of that crosswalk.
We would definitely incorporate the ATRC in that.
Thank you.
Yep. I did want to add that these type of crosswalks with the rapid flashing beacons, there's also pedestrian lighting. That's been a new standard that DOT has accepted and adopted, and this is going to be implemented on this crossing as well, because different shadows or type of lighting can be a concern, so there's some improved lighting for the pedestrians in the crosswalk.
Excellent. Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Word 2.
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Item number 7.
Item number 7, order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Sabata Street Five Corners ADA improvements. Requested action to adopt the order authorizing the transfer of funds from Cody Street Playground and Walking Path 2023 bond to Sabata Street Five Corners ADA improvements.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Chittum,
Second.
second by Counselor Harriman.
This is another project that has some very large impacts for our pedestrians, and we're excited for it. This is the Five Corners intersection on Sabattis, and I'll let Deputy Bully go through some details.
Sure, this, Sabattis at Central, Ash, Webster. This has been identified in the past as one of the highest priority improvements needed for safety with the middle school right there, and a lot of walkers walking home from the middle school down Ash Street. This one includes a high visibility crosswalk on the west side from Ash across to Central. As you can see on the diagram that was included in the agenda, regrading some of the sidewalks and ramps to meet current ADA standards, and upgrades of the PED buttons on the signals.
Question, Counselor Chittum.
Yes, thank you. Engineer Bowley, you brought it up. I'm going to follow up with, we often have a crossing guard escorting students from the junior high, from the middle school across this dangerous intersection. And I found that many times the crossing guard is holding up traffic with no regard at all to the signals. And I don't know how to address this issue. It would seem to me that crossings should be at least coordinated with what the traffic signals are. It's very frustrating to sit at a green light and being held up with a stop paddle while hordes of middle school children go across the street when less than a minute delay would have this traffic at a red light and the children could cross. Is that something that Public Works gets involved in? Is it the school department? Signal timing? How does this work? Who coordinates all this?
With regards to actual slow speed signs in school areas, that's the school department. But as far as coordinating with crossing guards, that's also school department, but we can work with them and look at some timing. I just had a couple ideas I jotted down when I heard you speaking about the issue. So we'll see what technology could be incorporated in this intersection. I think, a PED button, pushing the PED buttons and updated PED buttons will definitely help. And if it's maybe training and utilizing PED buttons and they actually work, that may be a big improvement on its own. But if there's other technology or interdepartment talk, we can definitely work on that.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Counselor Najin.
On that note, I do believe that there's a way you can set timing for the PED buttons in order to do an instant call during certain periods. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm not a traffic engineer, but I know enough to be dangerous. We've discussed it, some of these larger five-way intersections and all PED crossing. That really interrupts traffic flow. So you got to pay for something. There's only so many movements in a minute. So that's been discussed with state engineers as well as some of our traffic engineers. So that's possible. I don't know that that's been incorporated in this.
I believe the timing, retiming the signals was part of this.
Right. But I don't know that it's going to be an all PED phase through the intersection. So if you're on one of the legs and you hit it, usually it's for that leg.
I'm just thinking about on my commute to Portland every day when I'm on Washington Street at the elementary school. The PED crossing is timed so that when the crossing guard hits it, it changes. And so that allows for...
And like I said, that's something that we will definitely look into, talk with the design traffic engineers as well as our traffic staff.
Madam Clerk, did we go to public comment for this agenda item?
We have not yet.
Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Thank you. Item number 10.
Item number 10, order authorizing the transfer of funds from water utility bond premium and interest proceeds from 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 bonds, the SCADA program fiscal year 23 bond, and the Coburn Hall Water Main fiscal year 23 bond to the Island Avenue Water Main Project fiscal year 23 bond. Requested action to approve the order authorizing the transfer of funds from water utility bond premium and interest proceeds from 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023 bonds, the SCADA program fiscal year 23 bond, and the Coburn Hall Water Main fiscal year 23 bond to the Island Avenue Water Main Project fiscal year 23 bond.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Chittum,
Second.
second by Counselor Harriman. Director?
Yes, the funds we're asking to use come from computer network that's what our SCADA system is. So our priority right now is trying to get all of the online cast iron mains or redevelopment of the Island Avenue area. So this will go towards that water line project.
Questions, comments from the council? Counselor Harriman.
And I understand from the order here that it's important to do this before the Main Street paving project that we just discussed previously.
Right, we need to run a new line across Main Street right by the canal to feed that area. So yeah, it needs to get done this spring.
Okay, thank you.
That pipe was part of the original loop, I think dating back to 1878. So
Counselor Najin.
I'm just curious because I've heard the complaints a couple of times when you mentioned the moratorium on ripping up paving. We now notify abutters of the fact that we are going to be paving before the paving projects happen in order for them to do any type of work that they need to do under the street beforehand?
correct.
Okay, perfect.
We notify all utilities, so gas, we let them know about pretty much everything you need in the street is going to be out of touch unless emergency. So sewer services, water is on the city, and then any other type of structures they need to, some have underground electrical, so they need, and so we notify CMP as well.
Also, letters were sent out just last week to every building owner on Main Street.
Perfect. That's the part I was checking. I was like, I appreciate the utilities part, but I think sometimes it's, we have owners that, have old pipe, things like that, and especially considering the fact that we're talking about, the borer that we purchased in order to make sure that everybody has good, clean piping, right? So thanks.
Yep.
Public comment for this agenda item. Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Counselor from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You two take care.
You got it.
Item number 11.
Item number 11, order authorizing the transfer of funds from 2020 bond projects to fund the replacement of the boiler at the Central Fire Station. Requested action to approve the order authorizing the transfer of funds from 2020 bond projects to fund the replacement of the boiler at the Central Fire Station.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Counselor Gallant.
Second.
Second by Counselor Chittum. Chief Karen, thank you so much for joining us. Please kick us off.
Yeah, so during the fall servicing of the heating equipment at Central Fire Station, it was determined that there was a crack in the combustion chamber. We were recommended by Johnson Controls to replace it immediately. We have been running it, but the safety concern was raised. So we're not comfortable waiting till next year to replace it, even though it is currently running. The licensed heating technician told us it was his recommendation that we replace it immediately. So I obviously did not budget for that in this fiscal year. So that's why we're asking to transfer some funds into that account to cover the replacement costs.
And just to be clear, this represents a safety concern.
This is, yes, the Firefighters Association did raise a safety concern that, and it was the recommendation from the licensed heating technician that we replace it immediately, that he said it was not safe to operate in its current condition.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Chittum.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor of this, but I would have felt much more comfortable about approving this order if the whereas referenced the fact that this is a safety issue and we need to do it immediately, instead of we need to spend this money so we don't have to pay the IRS for it. The wording of the order would make a difference, I think.
Yes, Councillor Glant.
Thank you, Mayor. How long do you think it'll take to replace it?
It'll be a one-day job. There's some other associated work going on with it. One of the other issues that we want to address at the same time is we have natural gas boiler that's being replaced, but we also have a redundant number 2 heating oil boiler that's, we have an underground tank as well for redundancy. That's not connected to the hot water system, so when the natural gas boiler goes down, we don't have hot water in the building. So we want to connect the hot water, domestic hot water, to the other boiler, and that's part of the job. I think we solicited 4 quotes. The lowest bid was Damon Mechanical for approximately, I don't have the bid in front of me, but it was approximately $29,000. Which was the low bid, and they are a qualified bidder. They currently do work for us, and we've been happy with the work they do.
Part 2 of my question, will it affect coverage at all? Do you have to take the engines out of the station? Do you have to relocate people while they're in there because of freeze possibilities, anything like that?
No, we want to do it on a warm day, so we're hoping for, it'll be above freezing that day, and we can just get it done.
All right, thank you.
Further comments or questions from the council? Public comment for this agenda item?
Matt Roy, Ward 3. For anyone that read the resolve, like the council president, and it has issues with the price tag, this is actually, the chief probably could mention this, but given my employment, I have certain knowledge of what these things cost and what they're billed out as, and this is actually probably at the lower range, because some of these heating, especially if rooftop units can be multiples of what we're going to be spending for this new boiler for the central fire station. Thank you.
Public comment is now closed. Questions, comments from the council? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Yes.
Motion passed by a vote of 7 to 0.
Item number 12.
Item number 12, appointment to the City Housing Committee. Requested action to receive the mayor's nomination and to appoint Mohammed Abraham to a 3-year term on the Housing Committee as a full member serving as a tenant representative of a Lewiston multi-unit property, said term to expire January 4th, 2028.
May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Councillor Chittum, second by Councillor Najin. Discussion? Councillor Glant?
How do we keep track if they're still there over a 3-year period? Is there a check-in policy? This is not the only position this is written into. Is there a means that we, as a council of the city, he gets appointed for 3 years and next week he moves down the street or into a different location or a house or whatever, he no longer qualifies. How do we keep track of that?
I believe the city staff person who staffs the committee is asked to sort of just monitor that, because should any member of the committee change their contact information, they would notify the staff member for the roster to have that updated. So they would follow and be aware. There's very few that actually, this committee, yes, there are several assigned seats and positions for this committee, but overall for the city, that's not common in other city boards and committees. So that the housing staff member would sort of monitor that and keep an eye on that and be in touch with the members for any changes.
Okay, so, just a curiosity for me in the sense that people move a lot, especially people in apartments.
Yep.
You know, it's an ongoing thing, whether they're upgrading or finally getting into a house. And I know the position is not like a big paid position and having it, but I think it's supposed to be filled by a particular individual from the city for whatever reason. Ought to be some way, either yearly, we have them bring in I still live here, rent receipt or something, and we're not getting a P.O. box, so that we have the right people on the right committees that need to be there. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, do we currently require some sort of verification for these positions?
No, not to verify their tenancy. We do verify, some committees are required to be a registered voter. So
Of
we'll look
course.
it up and verify and see if their address is in sync with the application.
Yes, we are mostly trusting the applicants at this point. For instance, if someone applies for the housing or for the tenant representing a homeowner, there we go, a homeowner position, we take it for granted that they own the house they live in. These positions are not highly paid, and so. Further comments on this nomination? Public comment on this agenda item? Back to the council. Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Council from Ward 3?
Yes.
Ward 4?
Yes.
Ward 5?
Yes.
Ward 6?
Yes.
Ward 7?
Yes.
Ward 1?
Yes.
Ward 2?
Oh, yes.
Motion passed by a
Sorry.
vote of 7 to 0.
I was thinking about something else.
Thank you, councilors. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We are now up to the public comment period for people who haven't. Did you speak at the first public comment, Mr.
I did
Roy?
not. Shocking.
Please
I
continue.
reserve my right to, speak later, apparently.
You have a full 3 minutes. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, if you forgot in the last 2 minutes, I'm at Roy Ward 3. I guess I'll piggyback on the broad topic of what the last agenda item was. As anyone who can go to the city website can tell, there are many vacancies, and it seems like this drip, not to use, a plumbing analogy since we're talking about boilers, and now I guess I'll use a plumbing analogy. We have this drip of vacancies that are getting appointed, but as was alluded to at 3B tonight, we're fast approaching, as I've mentioned in previous meetings, budget season, obviously. And unfortunately, we have two of the three citizen seats on the Finance Committee vacant. Getting, and to piggyback on Councilor Garant's point about, ward or occupancy housing types of people. The Appeals Board has no representation from Ward 2 or Ward 3. And I guess going to Thursday night, are we foreseeing the need to reschedule because of the blizzard, so-called blizzard that's coming in? And even according to 92 Moose, if you have plans on Thursday, you might want to reschedule. Thank you.
Our second public comment is now closed. We're now up to reports and updates from councilors. Yes, Councilor Chittum.
I think this falls under reports and updates. I wanted to let councilors and the public know that we are interviewing 2 candidates to operate the CityLink bus system at the Lewiston and Auburn Transit Committee. That's on Thursday, I believe. And frankly, I'm not certain whether that's an executive session or an open session. So don't plan on attending unless you verify that, please. But we do have two candidates. All of the members of the committee have ranked them, and there will be final interviews and a decision made for the new operator to start, or the current operator to start October 1st, I believe, Administrator O'Malley. Is that correct?
Yes, that's when the new contract would start.
All right, thank you. And I did want to answer Mrs. Sampson's question about towing. I do believe at the last storm there were 22 cars that were towed.
That is incorrect, Councilor Chittum. I could answer that for you if you would like.
I'm sorry.
There were 35 cars towed and 189 were ticketed.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe I was the storm before.
I will also, this was the last storm when we had the parking, and I will say that the City of Lewiston does not have its own towing or wrecking service, so we rely on the operators in Lewiston, and I was told by the police department that they weren't able to get all the cars towed due to the lack of tow trucks. But it wasn't for lack of trying, where they wrote 189 tickets.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. I've got several updates for the school committee. We had a meeting last night where we approved a field trip request. A group of students are going to the Camden Conference. It's a group of social studies students. We also reviewed the financial audit for the school's finances, which sort of is it's the same auditor as the city, and they sort of take the school piece out and evaluate that as its own piece. We also had an agenda item. We spent a long time reviewing laws and policies around student behavior. The superintendent shared a memo about some of the things that we are doing. We are issuing consequences for some of the violent behavior that's happening. So far this year, we've scheduled 25 disciplinary hearings, and so far we have expelled 17 students for disciplinary issues. Another issue that came up was that state laws limit the school's ability somewhat to deal with behaviors based on kids' age. There are some other things around there, and we have worked with legislators to introduce some bills into the legislature this season. One of them that was introduced by our local senator, Peggy Rotundo, would allow law enforcement to share more information with the school when a student is, I don't know the right word, suspected or found to be, it's mostly dealing with gun violence. If they're involved in some sort of issue outside of the school, it would allow law enforcement to share more information with the school system so that they can monitor and potentially give them the correct consequences through the school department. And the last thing is that the school committee, it was announced a couple meetings ago, is forming a behavior subcommittee to address some of these issues, and it will be formed with, I believe it's 4 committee members and then some members of the public as well, and that's still sort of getting off the ground as we speak. That's all I've got for now.
Further reports and updates from councilors? Yes, Councilor Chittum.
This is a question for anyone who has the knowledge to answer it. There were a number of comments at public tonight, and we've received a number of emails concerning to the distribution of funds that were donated through the Maine Community Foundation. My question is, what authority, responsibility, or mandate does this council have to investigate that, given that the council nor the city was involved in collecting or distributing these funds? What is the council's responsibility to address some of the concerns that have been raised by the public? Thank you. Anybody?
Yes, and then maybe I'll recognize Administrator O'Malley. It's like a warning there, but yes, given the outreach that we've received, I did reach out to the Maine Community Foundation today, and I'll be meeting with their president and CEO to discuss some of the concerns and to hear from them, and then yeah, we'll go from there. Administrator O'Malley, we were talking before. I guess can you give a brief overview of how fundraising took place, and what happened during those early days after the shooting?
Back in October of 2023, when the incident occurred, the mass shooting, former city administrator Heather Hunter had an account opened up over at Androscoggin Bank because people were saying they wanted to submit money, they wanted to do donations, whatever they could do to help. That lasted for a few days, and then it ended up Androscoggin Bank started taking it over in terms of how the money was getting deposited, because people wanted to do Venmo,
credit cards, those kind of things, and the city was not set up for that. All of those funds from Androscoggin Bank that were collected went to the Maine Community Foundation. There was no involvement from the city in disbursement of the funds. City staff were not on the board that they had to make the determination of how the monies were dispersed. I know they used the Lewiston Middle School to have at least one hearing, maybe two, to have discussions with family and victims. But in terms of the city having any type of control or say over how the money was dispersed, we were not involved in that at all.
Council, thank you, Administrator O'Malley. Councilor Glant.
Thank you, Mayor. It was alluded to earlier that the city also received some of these funds. Is that a true statement?
I heard that statement as well. I'm not sure what they're referring to. We received no funds from the Maine Community Foundation. I mean, that's all, was dispersed. I mean, the Resiliency Center here in Lewiston got some money, I believe, from that. Recently, if you saw, the Bruins were in town and donated some money, but that went to the Resiliency Fund, but that was well after Maine Community Foundation had already dispersed those funds. There is a fund now that's being held by the chamber, but that's more towards assisting the Resiliency Center, but also in terms of a memorial that's at some point will be built, but that's a long process. And they're working with the Resiliency Center, who works closely with the victims and the family members of the actual shooting who were involved at the shooting.
So, Mr. Mayor, I would ask if you're going to talk to the president of that foundation, if we have a list of who the money was dispersed to. I understand it may need to redact names of individuals, but we shouldn't have to redact names of nonprofits and what they were paid, so we can see what came in and what went out, as another way of trying to let the public know that we are also very concerned what happened with that money and what was used, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, understood. I think a lot of that is already public, but I will confirm that upon our meeting. Councilor Najin.
I just want to acknowledge that I've received several pieces of correspondence and phone calls from constituents in the past couple of days concerning this issue. And the situation is that the funds, to my knowledge, were not held by the city of Lewiston, nor was the process in which the funding was passed out influenced in any way by the city of Lewiston. But I do want to emphasize that I think we need to do our due diligence concerning the questions that are being asked, and also remind everybody that the Maine Resiliency Center does exist in our community and is here for support for our community, including survivors and victims and relatives of victims and first responders and the community at large as a resource and support. So I just want to repeat that there is a resource available for our community still to this day. So, and I appreciate you, Mr. Mayor, taking the initiative to reach out to the Maine Community Foundation. I do think that regardless of the process in which it was done, there will be people who will still be upset no matter how that information comes forward. Simply from the feedback I got, several people were very upset that nonprofit organizations that had no affiliation with the target group had received funding. So,
yes, Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. I think it was mentioned earlier, but we are scheduled, at least, the weather may disrupt that, but this Thursday we have a meet and greet with the new city administrator at 5 o'clock, and then at 6 o'clock a special meeting over here to finalize that contract.
It's also my understanding that our new administrator, this will be the first meeting of several that he will hold in the coming weeks and months in order for the community to get to know him. And since he will not be here until early May, there's still plenty of time for that. Councilor Sol, yes.
I just wanted to check on the safety committee. Wanted to know if it's actually still a committee. Like what, I don't even know what it's for. I mean, I get the safety committee, but nothing's happened. So I'm just curious as to what's going on with that.
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, thank you. Yeah, and having conversations now, I spoke to the chief and talking with the co-chair, I'll be able to hopefully offer a more comprehensive report at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilor Najin.
Actually, I'm waiting for you to say new business.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that already? Are we still on reports and updates?
I think it's sort of blended together, so.
A little bit, yes. Are we done with reports and updates, councilors? New business. Councilor Najin.
Thank you so much. I just want to come back and check with Councilors Gallant and Roy on the shelter committee. I'm wondering if we could get a report back. I do know that the pieces that we kind of green lighted, we did quickly because there was a requirement to hit a window for application for funding. And I also, so the shelter committee, I just want to know where we're at, what we're doing in those spaces. Maybe they could report back to council. And also, I would ask if we're in agreement that possibly Caden's Kitchen could come before us and just kind of give us an update on where they're at concerning the development of the shelter based on the MOU that we've signed with them. I think that, following Councilor Chittum's guidance last year, winter comes quick, right? We're already in winter right now, but winter will come quick again. So if there's more supports that are needed or challenges in the way, anything like that, I just would really like to know the timeline, where everybody is, and just like a general update that can be done in council chambers.
Councilor Councilor Glenn, I'm currently recognizing you. Thank you.
Can we just add it to the agenda?
Yeah.
Next meeting? Is it possible to have Kevin come and we can speak and update you where we're at? That'd be the simplest way, I think.
Yes, if that's what you like, we can. just
Yeah,
do an
I don't
update.
think we need to.
workshop, or?
I don't think we should do a workshop. I just think it's going to take 10 or 15 minutes tops.
Well, I think, maybe you or Councilor Roy, maybe Craig can come, and basically, I could tell you right now that Kevin's in the process of trying to fill out the application for
Correct.
the license with the city, and he's still trying to work on funding to get that location. But his hope is to have that place opened by September. If that was not to happen, we did fund a warming center for two winter seasons, but my hope is that he'll be able to open up the shelter.
Do you? Yes, Councilor Najin.
Understood, but I would still like to have Kevin come before us. Just that I have some questions as well, just concerning some pieces around the main housing funding as well. I don't know if there are target dates in that award.
No.
And also, I think, just for transparency's sake, having Caden's Kitchen talk in a public venue that is easily seen by the constituents would be helpful.
Madam, sorry.
I'm good. I have no problem with that.
Okay. Yeah. Madam Clerk, in the past, we've had agenda items that were informational and update in nature. Could we do that then?
Sure.
Understanding that our workshop time is normally very busy.
Greatly appreciated. And then the only other thing I wanted to bring up was, so we had a public hearing on the LCIP, but we haven't had a workshop on the LCIP. And so I'm wondering if there's a possibility that we could have another public hearing on the LCIP after we have the workshop. Simply because the public has not, didn't get the books that we got, probably has not downloaded the PDF. Although I do know that there was a LCIP party in my neighborhood. That I did not attend, but so would that be possible?
Madam Clerk, does anything prevent us from adding a public hearing to a future agenda besides the cumbersome notice that we might need to provide?
No, the one that was held tonight covers the legal requirement as outlined in the city charter, because
Okay.
we have the display ad 15 days or so ago. So that's legally covered, but nothing says you couldn't hold a second one if you'd like, just for more input.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, if the council is amenable, we could have a public hearing following the public workshop, or our workshop, yes. Yes, Councilor Harriman.
Thank you. I had the 2026 budget schedule in front of me here, and we have on June 3rd a public hearing and approval of the LCIP, but that's at the very end. So I would agree that something in the middle there would be helpful to get input from the public.
Are you taking notes, Director Roy?
So I just wanted to mention that on February 18th, City Council is due to schedule to adopt the LCIP. Just a reminder, it's not saying that those funds are going to be used. It's just to adopt the 5-year plan. So we can arrange another time, but normally we go through that during budget season. If you want it a little bit before, we can do that.
Yeah, I think it would be very helpful. The feedback we got last year was that the process and the amount of times that the public could weigh in was lacking in the opinion of several constituents. I do realize it's pretty mundane stuff if people are watching the meetings and it's a lot to absorb. And so if we break it up into smaller pieces for the public to give feedback, I think it would be beneficial. That's all.
Councilor Roy, did you have something?
I don't know if this.
Do you want to use?
Yeah, I'll use the mic. Sorry. I don't know if this is the time to bring it up, but again, earlier we heard about garbage in the streets and stuff. Is there any ordinances that residents have to pick up their garbage if it's all strewn around their yards and stuff? Because again, this is becoming a habit.
Yeah, there are city ordinances regarding trash cans and making sure they're covered. That's what code enforcement would go out. At times, if it's a real mess and Public Works has to go out, they'll clean it up, and then they'll actually charge the landlord of the property if they can say where the trash came from. So that's more of a code enforcement.
Okay, so I'll make some emails, because again, it's kind of tough because when the wind blows it, it's not in my yard anymore. So who are you gonna fine, right? So again, I'll try to dig into that and send some emails.
Code enforcement does reach out to landlords, and that's not necessarily they have to issue them a fine, but say, hey, you're having an issue with your barrels, they're not covered, as the crows are attacking it, that kind of stuff. That does.
And I'm hoping that with the new garbage disposal plan, with the new garbage cans and all that stuff that have covers on it, might help that out a little bit, I'm hoping. I get that.
Councilors, Administrator O'Malley, did you have something else, or?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councilor Sol, then
Yeah.
we will wrap back around to everyone.
I actually wanted to bring up the trash as well when she mentioned Pine Street, because it is pretty rough, and especially Bartlett and Pine. I'm up and down, and a lot of it is coming from the apartment buildings. They have 5 to 10 trash cans lined along their buildings with no covers, and the wind is blowing it. The drain in the street, I forget what it's called. You can't even see it. It's just covered with trash. I don't know how water can go into it. So I didn't know I know winter is not an easy time to pick trash up. So I didn't know if there was.
Well, it's not so much picking up trash. If we notify code, we have code officers, and that's their job to go to those places. So if you see that, I'd encourage you to notify me or code enforcement. But I'm going to let the director of code enforcement know that there's some issues that aren't being addressed on Pine and Bartlett Street, so they can go out there and look around for it, especially when trash is blowing everywhere.
Thank you.
Councilor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. Follow-up, legislators, any word? We've asked them to come speak with us.
They sent an email, and they said they were not available. I can forward that to you again, but they.
So how do we send a more firm letter that make them available to us, seeing how they work for us?
Councilor Gallant, you'll have to take that up with them. They sent an email saying, I asked them, and they said they weren't available.
How do I go doing a proclamation, maybe from this body, to send to them, to tell them that we'd like to see them because the budget season's coming, and they're still authorizing things to be done that cost money without paying for things they already authorized? I don't know if you all be on board with that, but I'm going to draft something. I think it's terrible that they won't come here and speak with us when their whole function in life is the city of Lewiston, and we're the city council, so we kind of speak for our 7 wards. They ought to have time to come there and say, okay, this is what we're doing or we're not doing. So I'm not very happy about that, but thank you. Yes, please forward to me. I don't remember, you may have given it to me and maybe I missed it. But I'll have to
I'll
see
resend it to you.
Thank you. The second item I have is, I've already asked Director Roy, I've talked to Councilman Harriman about programs that are funded strictly through the federal government. I would like a list of all those. I have a grave concern with this budget season and things that are going on, especially with the Department of Education, that some of these things might disappear, which will impact the budget all the way around, and I'd like to know what will, I look at the LCPI, I look at the city budget, and I look at line items, and I want to know if that's funded by the federal government directly. You know, I had a conversation with, not one of our legislators, another legislator, about the 55% mandate, and I was really surprised to find out the federal government gives the state of Maine $2,500 towards that 55%. So they ain't ponying up 55%. Okay, they're ponying up a small portion of 55, and the federal government is giving the rest. And if the federal government decides to yank it back, we're not going to see 55%, especially with them already being in the red. So the sooner we know about possibilities or items like that that are out there, it make me feel more comfortable to make decisions. Thank you.
Councilor Najin, yes.
Just to speak to the point that Councilor Roy brought forward, trash has been a perennial problem in our community, and there's always been a battle between tenants and landlords. The piece that's always been missing is licensing trash haulers. I think that right now, when we're looking at the new trash system in the new trash rules, this would be a great time to ask for feedback and advice from the Economic Development Committee, from Megan Bates, who's done work running committees that handle waste management and recycling in our community for the past 10 years. So she's got a great piece of feedback. So I don't know if it'd be like a task force that we establish, but possibly like go through a period of maybe 3 or 4 months of review to make recommendations that we can then forward to council to set policy. I think that I'll draft something for the next meeting.
Councilor Longchamps, did you have something?
Yes, sorry, my voice. But I own, I think it's 6 properties on Pine Street, and in my opinion, with the trash, tenants need to do better at getting their trash in the cans, taking responsibility for that, and then the landlords need to make sure that their tenants are doing their part. And landlords need to do better at making sure that their tenants are following the trash rules, because you're absolutely right, it is disgusting. In fact, often I go to other properties to pick up their trash because they're right next to my properties. And yeah, it's disgusting.
Yes, Councilor Sol.
Sorry, you just reminded me of, I was leaving Community Critters a couple months ago, and I was walking across the street, and there was a bunch of trash, and I started to pick it up, and there was an older gentleman who walked over to me and just said, "You're really just wasting your time." And that was sad, that's how he felt. So, yeah, I'd love to see the trash picked up.
Councilor Harriman.
Thanks. Yeah, I do hope that the new trash system, the new bins will help, but I agree that there are currently buildings with similar bins that overflow. I live near Pine Street on Shawmut, and I go out when everything's not frozen, usually once a week, and I can easily fill 2 large, 30 to 40 gallon trash bags, and that's every week just from picking up around the gutters. So I do plan to go around. I know of some buildings that are kind of habitual offenders. I do plan to get some pictures and forward them to code enforcement, just so they can start to at least hit those high priority targets there first.
And back to you, Councilor Gallant.
Thank you, Mayor. The ordinance, or whatever, does it require every apartment to have their own cylinder can? I'd like to know that. Because many of these apartments you go by have 6 cans out front, and there's 10 or 11 apartments. And if that's not the case, then I would like to get the ordinance back in front of us so we can fix it to make landlords buy enough receptacles for their units.
I don't know that ordinance off the top of my head, but I do believe each apartment has to have at least one, but I can have code check into that and I'll get back to you. I'm taking notes on all this, so I'll share it with all of you.
Councillor Najin.
It's still a great argument for revising our trash ordinances.
Councillor Longchamp, did you have something else?
No.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Councillor Chittum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sent an email around to all members of the council suggesting that we have a 30,000-foot workshop so that we can address our priorities and establish where we would like to head in the rest of this calendar year. Would you please respond to me and let me know whether you'd like that? And I'd like to work with staff to set up the mechanism and the format of such a free-ranging discussion, principally among the council, so that we can all focus and pull in the same direction on those items that we feel are the most important to address this year. Thank you.
Councillor Gallant, if I may, I don't want to get into it, as it were, but in terms of our legislators, I mean, obviously they are busy legislating up in Augusta at this very moment, and they do have regular, let's call it office hours at the library. I think it's the last. Don't quote me. I think it's the last Saturday of the month, each month, where residents can go, and and nothing precludes us from contacting your rep, your state senator, and discussing whatever matter you see fit.
Well, thank you, Mayor, but I'm going to tell you, it's a budget problem with the school department, which we're responsible for as a group, not individually at a library waiting 10 minutes behind somebody to speak to a legislator. They should, as they did before, find time to come and explain themselves as we asked them to do, and they said they would do it, and we still haven't had a response. I'm looking for responses to what they committed to do. I don't think that's unreasonable. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gallant. Any further new business, councillors? I believe, may I have a motion to adjourn?
You may.
Councillor Chittum, followed by Councillor Najin. Our clerk is not here, but perhaps by a show of hands.
Unanimous consent?
There we go, yes. Thank you all. Thank you, Lewiston. Have a wonderful evening, and yeah, thank you.